What's up everybody? I hope y'all are having a wonderful day. I'm Anthony. On today's video, I wanted to go with y'all one of the ultimate survival crops that you absolutely need to be growing if you live in a hot, dry, or humid environment. So stay tuned. All right, welcome back. So what plant am I talking about? What plant can you possibly consider one of the most survival ready crops to grow in a hot, humid, or dry environment? It's right here. It's a type of bean, actually. It's a legume. It is absolutely one of the most prolific producers in my garden, period. I've grown this for the last couple years. Every single year it seems to be getting better and better. What am I talking about? The cowpea. Well, some of y'all are thinking, what the heck are cowpeas? Well, check it out. If you've ever heard of black-eyed peas, well, that is a type of cowpea. The reason why we call them cowpeas is because it's a better name, I guess, than field pea, which is what most people call them. The reason why they get that name is because farmers way back in the day would just put these out in the field and let livestock graze on them. So they were field peas or cow peas if you let your cows graze on them. Now that name has kind of stuck around. There are different varieties. Most people have heard of black-eyed peas because obviously, you know, Fergie and all that good stuff. But black-eyed peas are a big staple in a lot of African and Cajun cooking, a lot of Southern cooking. So people know that term very well. Now for me, I'm not a big fan of black-eyed peas. That's just me, but I do like this variety. It's a purple hull, and it's more of a pink-eyed cowpea. Why it's one of my favorites and why I'm telling you on my channel that if you live in my kind of environment, you need to grow it, is because this plant right here is so vigorous that it's almost hard to kill. So when I plant my garden, just for those of you who don't know, when I plant everything every single year, I try to get my stuff out as early as possible. That way that everything can become mature and done producing by about July. All right, because there's only like 3 or 4 plants that actually survive all the way through the summertime. Okay, peppers do well, sweet potatoes do well, okra does well, and these do well. So when it comes down to everything else, I usually try to, plan for them to be done, finished up, ready for me to pull out and put something else in by July. This plant right here is one of those great exceptions to the rule, because when it gets very, very hot out and everything else seems to kind of wilt, this thing just keeps on kicking. All right, so to give you an idea of why this is one of my favorites and why this is always going to be in my garden, period, is a good example right here. I planted this after I harvested my garlic. For those of you who don't know, I always put my garlic down the first week of November and I harvest it the first week of June. So that way I can put it in the garage to start curing, and in the bed right after I harvest my garlic, I always put down these for multiple reasons. It's a legume, so it's going to fix the nitrogen in the soil, but it does not mind the heat whatsoever. This year has been one of those crazy years where we had an absolutely horrifying June. When I say horrifying, I mean like it didn't rain at all, and it was over 90 almost every single day. Most plants in the garden were starting to dry up, did not produce, stopped producing, or they would die altogether. My buckwheat was doing great until June, and all of a sudden the heat, it just could not handle it. All right, so like I said, I put these down the first week of June, and here it is July 20th, and it's already time to harvest. That's extremely fast, and I cannot describe to people who wait, 90 days to 100 days to get something to eat, how quick these things can really pop up in the heat of the summertime here. So let me just paint you a picture. It was about, 90 degrees every single day in June. It didn't rain at all. Yet I put these things down, and all I had to do was water them the first week. By the time they got established, I didn't have to water anymore, and I have not watered since. It's July 20th. I've already got my first harvest. The first time, it's already in the house. This is the next crop that's coming up, and these are one of my absolute favorites because, like I said, we don't have to worry about any of these conditions stunting or stopping this plant. Now, with that being said, you have to make sure that you are aware, if you are going to plant these things, you better get ready to start picking a lot, because when they do produce, they will keep on producing until you stop picking. If you let them ripen to the point where these dry out and they become dry peas, the plant's going to slow down production. So if you pick them when they are bulging, see, this is a purple hull variety, so the purple hull pink-eyed cowpea is what I like to plant, because when they turn purple, it's ready to pick them. But when they turn purple, I pick them and I like to eat them fresh. What you can do is you can take them and you could blanch them and freeze them, or you can just eat them fresh, which is what I normally do. So for the first month of the season, I eat these things fresh until I just can't stand eating them anymore, and then I'll let the rest of them on the plants start drying out. By the time they get to the point where the pods are brown, they kind of rattle in there, I know I'm good. I can stash them away like a dry bean, and the only way that you cook them differently is you gotta soak them and then boil them for a lot longer. So now I know some of you may be thinking, I don't like growing beans, I don't like having to have a trellis or anything like that. They do make bushing varieties, but just, you know, a word to the wisdom, I bought bushing varieties the first time I bought these, and yeah, they're vining, so they didn't really bush out the way I anticipated them to. I don't really care. All I do is just get a teepee. I took some bamboo from my friend's house and I just made a little teepee, and I planted 13 of these plants around it. That's how far they've grown up. They usually have a nice little habit of, sometimes they'll send the leader up, other times they'll just kind of swirl around, and it's really great because it's its own mulch. I don't have to worry about mulching down because they shade out basically everything else, so nothing's really going to grow there. Now, this plant, like I said, it's going to grow up and you're going to get these flowers. Let me show you, let me zoom in. You get these flowers like this. Behind those flowers, you're going to get the actual pea pod. That's going to swell extremely quickly into something like this. You're going to start seeing the beans bulge in the pod, and then all of a sudden, after a few more days, it's going to turn colors and you're about ready to harvest. They are extremely prolific, as you can tell. So if you want to make sure you plant a survival food that you can count on to grow when the weather turns really hot and dry, I would definitely suggest planting this type. Alright, so like I said, these are called purple hull pink-eyed cowpeas. Let me show you why they're called pink-eyed. Because you take it and you open them up, looks like a little pink eye. So instead of a black-eyed pea, it's a pink eye. And even when they dry out, they get brown, but that eye still has a nice dark maroon color. So when you're looking down them, you pop the pod out. As you can see, they look just like any other pea or bean that you might plant. You shell them, and if you want to eat them fresh, that's what they look like. They have a nice little pink eye, and they're greenish beans. Now you can cook these a standard way. I usually put them in chicken stock and season them and boil them for a little bit, and I eat them that way. You can put a ham hock in there, or if you want to have them when they're dried, then just all you gotta do is soak them, and then you have to boil them for a little while. So it's not really that hard to cook. But one of my favorite things about these is every single pod is about that long. So you have between 8, 10, 12 peas per pod, and this thing puts out multiple pods daily. So if you plant enough of these things, you shouldn't have to worry about food or food security, period. So if you want to grow something that's going to make sure that it puts out consistently until frost, plant one of these things. You will be very happy that you did. Now, one thing I definitely want to make sure I put in the video is they are a very good source of protein. All right, remember, if you have to get protein source from a plant, you're going to want to look towards beans. Cowpeas are the same family, so boom, you're going to get a whole bunch of protein. Just remember that you are lacking in one essential amino acid, so you have to plan accordingly. But they are a really good source of protein. They have extreme amounts of B vitamins, folate, potassium, and they are a really good source of fiber, something you absolutely need if you are in any kind of situation. So when it comes to nutritional value, nutritional content, you cannot forget about a bean or pea, in this case the cowpea, because they are very good for you. Alright, so I think I'm going to end the video there. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully if you are not growing this plant, you may be considering doing so. I am not sure about growing them above the Mason-Dixon line because I've never done it before. I've only ever grown them down south. So if someone else has experience growing these type of beans or peas up north, by all means put it down in the comment section below. But I can't speak for that because I'm only used to growing them down here, and I usually plant them around June and they continue producing until the frost kills them. So like I said, boom, if you like this video, please do me a humongous favor, give me a thumbs up. It absolutely helps me out and I would very much appreciate it. Subscribe, and I'll catch y'all later, okay?